With just 4 rounds remaining in the regular season, the Area Cup Series drivers head north of the border to America's Hat to Montreal, Canada. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is a tight and technical street course that they put on a spectacular stretch of racing in what was then the Busch and Nationwide Series. It's like a short track road course. You got to nail your line and avoid getting nailed from behind. Welcome to Canada and round 9 of the Area Cup Series season. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined tonight by Finian D'Cunha and Hunter Sleppy. And guys, it feels a little patriotic. We didn't grow up, at least all 3 of us, I don't think grew up that far from Canada, although didn't spend a lot of time in it.
I've been to Canada a few times. I haven't lived there at all at any point in my life, but fun place to visit, especially Niagara Falls. But for these drivers who are going to be visiting here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as you mentioned, street course, you almost forget it's a street course because it's pretty much a park the rest of the year, except for the years that the small portion of time they go racing here, especially for Formula One. And this street course is going to be a very tight challenge for these drivers, a very different challenge from Sonoma, which is much more flowing, natural flows and turns. Here, a lot more stop and go. It's essentially a bunch of straightaways connected by a bunch of chicanes.
Yeah, I was supposed to visit Canada during the 2020 summer occasion, but something happened globally that I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but this is about as close as I'll get for the meantime. Very interesting racetrack here. Got 14 turns, 2.7 miles, so it's a little bit longer than some of the regular road courses on the schedule, but there you see there the hairpin, Kyle. That's going to be a big passing point. Guys going to try and send it in, getting that tight right-hander.
This is a pretty challenging racetrack, and like I said in the intro, it is a road course, but it's built on some streets in a park here in Montreal, and so it's got a lot of character to it. You're going to be jumping curbs. You'll be right next to the walls all night long. But so much of this is slow speed cornering, Finian. You're not leaning on any downforce in these cars. This can be a rough and tumble racetrack, so got to keep your car straight and on course here, especially with only 3 rounds after this before we begin our playoffs.
Yeah, the big thing is going to be modulating that throttle pedal because you're going to be coming out of these corners and then you're going to be pretty much hitting it to the floor. That being said, you got to modulate when you hit it to the floor and how much turning you're using. So, and on the opposite end of the throttle, you got the brake. Braking is also going to be huge here. A much bigger braking zone for these cars. And at this track in particular, you got to get that car low down for these tight chicanes. Can't flow through them like Sonoma. You got to get them low down. There's going to be a miss, and then especially with it being relatively tight all the way around, a lot of walls. You can see the driver working through here.
Yeah, not a lot of room for error in some parts of these racetracks, and even got to look at the final 2 turns, infamously from 2009, where Marcos Ambrose lost the race. Right there, turn 13, turn 14. They call that the Wall of Champions, or better known as the Quebec Wall. And you don't want to go too far off the track because the wall is right there as you're exiting turn 14.
Yeah, it is a really tricky racetrack, and that last sequence in particular, you want to jump those curbs very aggressively and set yourself up for a run down the front straightaway, but it's so easy to get it wrong there as well and bounce those curbs wrong, get a cut course penalty. So it's a place that sometimes offense can put you on defense here. And with a 35-lap event tonight, I think this will be a pretty quick race. We're not going to have the potential for yellows, and I'm honestly surprised at how close the field is in practice here, Finian.
Yeah, it is really close, especially for a road course. We got 10 drivers within a second, and up near the top, Skyley Matheson separated by under a tenth. They're actually the closest gap. It gets a little bit further back once you go to guys like Nichols, Oates, Gary, and then also looking there at Travis Beckner, who decided to back it into the chicane there after he missed and went into the runoff. David Weiser there in 8th place in the number 33. Matthew Bell, Seth Knoll, the top 10. And actually, Seth Knoll a little bit lower than I would expect the number 1 car to be.
Yeah, this is a track where some guys didn't even have before the schedule was announced, and some waited until as late as last week or even today to purchase the track and try to get some laps in. But you mentioned it, Skyly at the top of the charts, Jake Nichols 3rd as well. They're really at the top whenever it comes to these road course races. Skyly has the most wins with 4. Meanwhile, Jake Nichols has 8 top 5s and 8 top 10s. His average finish is 2nd, which is the best amongst the field. Skyly with 5 poles and the most laps led on road courses. So those 2 are going to be ones to watch for. Also, wouldn't keep mind to keep an eye out for Travis Beckner in the 28 as well. He's got a thing or two for these road courses.
Well, pro tip tonight, Finian, if you just bought the racetrack today, you're going to have a very bad time here this evening. This is one of those tracks on the calendar that requires a lot more practice than even a place like Watkins Glen or Sonoma, because you've done hundreds, if not thousands, of laps there over your years in iRacing. For many drivers tonight, this will be the first time that they've taken the next-gen car on this racetrack. We saw the brake rotors already glowing very, very bright. The one thing that helps these cars versus the rest of the week, you've got independent rear suspension and a much bigger brake package, so slowing down, it's still tricky, but it will be easier than it was, or will be, for the rest of the week.
Well, in theory, it should be. Again, it depends on how much practice, what little practice they were able to get out if they bought the track today, as drivers are starting to roll out onto the track to get the warm-up laps done. 2 laps for these drivers, 10 minutes on the clock. Peyton Howell, one of the first drivers to roll onto the racetrack. Of course, a race winner this season, so he's locked in. No many worries for him. But been very consistent at all manner of tracks, as Peyton Howell been. And try to look and see where he finished at Sonoma. Actually, one of his worst finishes. I finished 13th there. And I didn't see where he was doing in practice, but I think he was doing okay in practice. That's a little bit worse than he would probably like. I think around 15th.
Yeah, we're in the closing stages here for the regular season as the playoffs are looming. Brent Bucari going to need a win and then some to get himself locked into the playoffs here. He's 33rd in points, and he lost 6 spots in the last race, so you have to dial in here for these next 4.
Yeah, look, he's got a squared off rim there. He's in virtual reality. That'll help to position the car on track here tonight in this 35-lap event. And road ringers are going to love this place a lot more than you would a place like Watkins Glen, where I think everyone's gotten a lot closer in skill over the years. This still requires you to get your downshifts right, your upshifts right. Even though you're using that sequential box now, you still have to get the footwork right to downshift properly. And I think guys like Travis Beckner are going to be a threat in that number 28. But, Finney, and the other thing to consider is that this is going to be the last road course race of the season, so if this is your skill set, you've got to pounce on this.
Yeah, we're already seeing guys, at least in the top of practice, James Scally, Jake Matheson, Jake Nichols. I mean, they're in the front of the field in almost any race, but we usually definitely see them at the front when it comes to the road courses. Another driver I want to note, the 45 of Jonathan Oates, very quick in practice, 4th on the board, and did okay at Sonoma, not particularly great, finished 12th there, but he's been on a roll. He's been improving his finishing position throughout the season, so if he can continue that momentum, wouldn't be surprised to see this 45 in at least top 5, maybe even better, though. You see him really struggling through the first sector, charged it in there. You can see him already off kilter into the braking zone, and this is one of those things you want to get this car low down before you make your turning point. You see the curbing taking him for a loop as well.
You'd want to take a bit of a wider approach as well. You don't want to hug it too tight, because you do have to set up for the second turn right after that.
All of this, I mean, this racetrack is really a couple straightaways put together with some chicanes and a hairpin. Just a lot of right lefts, curb jumping, that sort of thing. Carrying momentum and maximizing your exit speed is what this is all about. A long warm-up lap here as well, so it'll be a little while longer until we start to see times up on the board. A little bit of a better run through the second chicane, or I guess that's the third chicane for Jonathan Oates in the 45 machine. Peyton Howell was one of the first cars we saw on track, but he had to reset after collision on his first out lap. We'll keep an eye on the other drivers we have here in the field. A couple drivers, as always, giving us some perspectives inside the cockpits tonight. Michael Curhan says if he ever had to move to Montreal, he'd be giggling all the time because everyone's saying wee wee. Wee wee.
I always keep forgetting that's how you spell that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the American way of spelling it.
Also not the American term. But
Really? No,
that's why it's a funny joke. And again, my voice is a little bit roasted here tonight because I was out at Barber Motorsports Park last weekend and making very merry on the tail end of that as well. So I had a good time down there. It's the first time I've ever been to Barber. And this is one of the tracks I haven't been to either up here in Montreal. Michael Curhan goes 8th quick. Ricky Springer goes to the top in the number 51 with that special commemorative livery.
Yeah, awesome livery here. I was saying there were quite a few drivers carrying tribute liveries this weekend. I was talking about it before. A little bit ironic that they're carrying this livery, the American flag on the car, and we are north of the border for the one and only time this season. But very awesome car. A couple, like you mentioned, a couple of them throughout the field and currently on top of the chart. See if he can remain there. Jonathan Oates, despite his mistake in the first sector, is second on the board. So this, I think, definitely room on the table for the 45 to improve. Max Service out there in the 81 machine. He's, I think, started his first lap. So we need to see where he ends up on the board.
Still have quite a few guys left to go for qualifying. Looking at the times here. So from Sonoma, it was about a 1:15. We're looking at a 1:38. So a little bit longer in distance compared to the road course that we ran earlier this season as Service heads out into Le Pen.
Yeah, look at the times on the top of the timesheet there. Very close, only 0.005 of a second separating Ricky Springer and Jake Matheson. That is really close on a road course.
I've been impressed so far today with how tight the times have been in general, even in the practice session. It seems like these cars, with their slightly more road course friendly setups, they tend to be a little closer at the top as Tyler Gary jumps up to the top spot, and Jonathan Oates does as well. And they put some distance, now 0.002 of a second between Oates and Weishart, but then Springer goes back to second place by 0.2.
Yeah, Tyler Gary coming in with a fantastic lap time there, just setting his 2 times, and he's good to go. Ricky Springer back up to second, Oates in third, Weishart and Matheson your top 5. Matheson still on track, trying to upset that, and as we look at the 73, Jake Nichols coming to start his first lap. Really waited quite a while to get on, but he should have enough time to complete both.
I'll say we're still waiting for some of the heavy hitters to come up, like Noel, Scioli, even Jake Nichols just now starting his first lap. Here's his approach through turns 1 and 2, and then down through the little straightaway into 3.
And Seth Knoll is finishing up his first lap. Pretty conservative run there into the chicane. Got a lot of curb there on the right.
Conservative up until that point.
Yep.
When flying over the curbs across the line, we'll see if that helped them at all, being that aggressive through the final sector.
To second place.
Solid time. I don't think he's done yet. Definitely, I imagine he wants to get the pole. 1/10 off. He's got to find that in one more lap to usurp Tyler Gary, who's currently holding that spot away. Or I guess the only other driver also keep my eye on is Bosch 2. Jake Nichols and James Scully that are yet to end up on the board.
Yeah, Scioli won the pole earlier in Sonoma, and Seth Knowles starts second, so track position going to be very key here. The top 3 from Sonoma all started inside the top 5. That was Seth Knowles, Scioli, Jake Nichols. Travis Beckner came quite a ways back in 16th, but different dynamic here as he goes through the wall of champions.
Right out to the edge of it here. James Scioli goes on lap number 1. Let's see what he's got. 138.495, and that will take him right to the top of the board by 11,000ths of a second.
Ooh, very, very tight margin still at the top of the timesheet. So waiting to see what Seth Knoll can do. And actually at Seth Knoll, the pace he's going, he might just have enough in the tank. Oh, he overshot the hairpin, I think, a little bit. So he might struggle, but we're looking at the 73, Jake Nichols, what he's got as he jumps on the board, 38.425. He will jump to the top of the board.
Barely over the 7 of Scioli. Well, we got to see if the 1 of Knoll has anything left in the tank down the casino straight.
Into the braking zone here. Jump the curb. You see the gyro cam. See how much elevation he gets. Pretty conservative run there. Throttles back down. Kicks the rear end out. And Seth Knoll
that might be it.
Might get it. Let's see. What's the time? Yes, 138.296. And he goes to the top.
Yeah, I saw it on the timing sheets. As soon as he went through there with a much cleaner exit, took less curbing, slowed him down less, and had enough of her on the straightaway to get it done by a decent margin. That being said, Jake Nichols, he's not backing down. He's ready to answer the call. His time is looking pretty decent. So is James Scioli.
He's coming through the hairpin again and going to be down the casino straight. He's going to have another opportunity to snag the pole away with 1:30 remaining.
B-Max here. Let's see what Scioli can reach. It's going to be north of 175 miles an hour, 177 before he has to woe it down to a pedestrian 62 miles an hour in that final chicane. Throttles up. He's in the green as well here, Finian. Let's see if he can get there.
He's got to find just a little over 1/10 of a second. Was it a decent enough run out of the final chicane across the line for the 73? Will it be enough? It will be by 14,000ths of a second, but don't hold your breath too long because here comes Jake Nichols storming down the straightaway.
I'll be getting through turns 13 and 14. Really got through the curbing in 14. Will be enough to get him to the pole.
It looks good. It's still in the green for Jake Nichols. Needs a 138.282 or better. It's a 132. Well, it was going to be a 132, 48.2, and it would have put him to the top, but invalidated, and he will roll to a stop in third place.
Part of me feels like that might have been through the final chicane because he took a wall above the curb and I think might have flirted a little bit too much with the track limit there. But Douglas Newman, he's going to be coming to the line, will be one of the last drivers to set the time down, it looks like. And he's just looking to get up on the board at this point. And didn't have anything go well the first lap. Lap 2 hoping to be better, a 140.5. That'll put him nowhere.
Didn't count.
Bad lap.
Qualifying's complete. And James Scioli and Seth Knoll are your pole sitters for this one. That was a pretty frantic and fun qualifying effort there. Kind of shootout style, it felt like.
Yeah.
Race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. And as a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat and earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month. Join today at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. There's some beautiful scenes of nearby Montreal as the field gets ready to go racing here tonight. And 33-car field, Finian, so we'll see how this race fares.
Yeah, and what you're saying too about the qualifying that we just saw was awesome. It was like, very fitting to get it almost kind of like an F1 style qualifying where everyone's just kind of going slightly faster, slightly more each time on by, and I guess very fitting being at a Formula One track. But considering how close the times were in qualifying, I'm really excited for this race. We saw some great action at Sonoma. It was close there, and I'm hoping to see something similar, if not better, here at Montreal.
Yeah, I mentioned it was close with the top three, which the top three from Sonoma were Seth Knoll, James Scioli, and Jake Nichols, and they're going to be the front three again, at least lining up for this race. Don't know how it's going to finish, but yeah, we mentioned it. Turn 14, that lap that Nichols had invalidated, he went over that rumble strip, kind of similar to what Marcos Ambrose did in 09. So it's not just going to matter in qualifying; it's really going to matter during the race. Don't want to mess up too much because there's no yellows.
Yeah, and the weather is pretty warm, 112-degree track temp, but if it's anything like the other road courses, we've seen it not be all that abrasive for the tires. So the cars might handle worse, but they're not going to go that much slower over the course of this 35-lap race. Before we get to your starting lineup here, if you're looking for a small or large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and Triple Crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomesinc.com to get started today. Let's talk points coming into this race. We've got 4 rounds, including this one, before we set our playoffs up, and it's Seth Knoll leading Jake Nichols by 17 points. Peyton Howell, though, Finian, he has been the model man of consistency so far this year, and he's really done a nice job parlaying himself to third place in points with that one victory he had back at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, it's really doing him well. I mean, I would have said even on points he would have been in, on, through, and A-OK. And then you look further down, Adam Cabot, Jake Matheson, not necessarily doing well points-wise, but they're well within the top 20, so they're looking good to move on with the provisional by winning one race each between both of them, especially Adam Cabot just winning recently at Dover. Sorry, was it Dover? Darlington, not Dover, wrong D. And did a fantastic job there, so he's able to kind of take a step back and relax. So I'm just curious, guys, do you think we're going to see another race winner today?
I think we'll definitely see another race winner, but new race winner.
You know what I meant.
I know
You know what I meant.
wins.
A new one.
It's all that jet lag from that virtual flight here. Yeah, I think there's a good chance we could see a potential new winner.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
That was a weird noise.
That is so, well, we get to explain to the Oval guy what that sound is all about. That is a pit siren that will play every time a car enters the pit lane to alert crews and officials that there's a car entering the pit lane area because you can't see the entrance from the pit road. And that's an interesting note for Adam Cabot to practice getting onto pit lane because you're assumingly going to have to need to do that tonight, Finney. And if you haven't practiced that, you don't want to have your first time be when it counts.
I see a couple guys, yeah, Richard Jr. coming to the pits now as well. These guys are done, I think, they're pretty much going to have to come in to at least get fuel. We did see at Sonoma, pretty much no one took tires there, and I think that's going to be something very similar to what we're going to see here tonight, especially with less emphasis on the tires. You know, these tires are taking less of a beating with the low-speed corners versus the high-speed corners at Sonoma. We're really leaning on that mechanical grip. So as long as you treat the rear tires well, you really shouldn't need tires to work with. Just come in, get some fuel, and get back there out there on the track.
Yeah, and to answer your question earlier, Finian, I think we have a good chance of seeing a new winner because remember, James Scioli, he has yet to win a race this year. He's won 3 poles, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Shocking that he hasn't won a cup race yet. Also looking at Beckner, he has the same stats, but with minus the poles, but he's up there in points as well. And then I'm looking at a guy who's well outside the top 20, but if he wins, he'll be in a good shot at potentially making the playoffs. David Weishart, he's going to be starting inside the top 10. He's only had 1 top 10 this season in a season to forget. He's 29th in points, and that top 10 came at Daytona where he finished 8th, and then his next best finish was 18th at Sonoma. So maybe the road courses are going to be the things to spice up David Weishart's season.
Could be, and we're just moments away from kicking things off here with that Central Mobile Homes starting lineup like we spoke about a little while ago. And the next 3 races on the calendar, Chicagoland, Indianapolis, and Talladega. 1.5 mile, the 2.5 mile speedway at Indianapolis, and then the 2.66 mile Talladega Super Speedway is the last race of the regular season because, of course, it is. Why not eliminate people upside down and on fire instead of on a short track? So that's where we're going to have in the next week. That'll be Bristol, the first round in the playoffs, as we head down to the racetrack here. If this race kind of goes as expected, about 58 minutes of racing, just under an hour worth of time. One last look at the weather here. Things have cooled off slightly, but I think it's still going to be a beautiful virtual day here for some road racing. Central Mobile Homes starting lineup. Let's kick things off with row number 1. It's James Scioli, the road course driver. He's a ringer not only on the road courses but on the ovals as well. Seth Knoll starts alongside him in the number 1.
And that is really solid second row in behind them. Jake Nichols rolling off in 3rd in the 73. Next to him, Tyler Gary in the 62 lined up in 4th.
In 5th place, it's Ricky Springer in the number 51 car. He's got his outside covered by Jonathan Oates in the 45.
Back in 7th place is going to be David Weishart in the number 33. Next to him, it's going to be Jake Matheson in the 54, lineup in 8th.
In 9th place, it's Travis Beckner in the 28 Chevrolet Camaro. Michael Curhan starts 10th in the 24.
We have our Darlington winner, Adam Cabot, lineup in the 07 in 11th place. Next to him, Reese Schaefer in the 97, rolling off in 12th.
And in 13th place, it's Bailey Turner in the number 25 machine. Matthew Bell starts 14th in the number 8.
Moving back to 15th is going to be Drew Drew in the number 13. Next to him, it's going to be Peyton Howell in the 52 in 16th.
And in 17th place, Greg Mitchell in the number 2 Ford Mustang. And Ed Scherer Jr. starts 18th in the number 17 car.
Back in 19th, it's going to be the 81 of Max Service. Next to him, Connor Horn, a poor qualifying effort for the number 42, lineup in 20th.
Yeah, he's not stoked about this racetrack, is he? 21st place, Bryce Senesac in the 09 Chevrolet. Tyler Nichols starts 22nd in the number 41 car.
Back in 23rd, it's going to be Nick Silver in the number 99. Next to him, Emerson Arden, lineup in the 57 and 24.
25th place, Landon Cardello in the number 19, the Toyota Camry. Brett Punkari, carrying one of our onboard cameras tonight, starts 26th in the 35.
Back in 27th is going to be Seth Berger in the 77. Next to him, Ben Pierce, lineup in the 65 car in 28th.
And 29th place, Andrew Payne in the number 70. Trey Eitzen starts 30th in the number 78 Finian.
Moving back to 34th, it's going to be Blaze McKinney in the number 87. Next to him, Douglas Newbing in the 71, lineup 32nd.
33rd place, Jeremy Miller in the number 30 Camaro. Then Mason Kane, 34th in the number 31 car. And Garrett Grant brings up the rear of the field in the number 5. Okay, we've got another pace lap to go here, so we've got some time to kill. I want to talk a little bit about the commentator pick standings here and take our picks for the race. Currently, Finian somehow continues to lead with 200.
Somehow.
You only won 2 races. I've won 3, but somehow I made a couple worse picks along the way.
You made some really bad picks along the way.
Yeah, a couple of lasts. That doesn't help. So you've got 288 points with 2 wins. I've got 270 points with 3 wins. And Hunter has 268 right behind me, somehow with no wins.
Somehow with no wins.
How are you almost tied with me? I must make really bad decisions.
You get lucky every now and then.
Not for long. I make bad financial decisions. Anyway, we got the field rolling through the flash chicane here. So let's take our picks in reverse points order. Hunter will let you go first. Who's winning this race?
Well, he hasn't won a race yet this season, and he's starting up front. Might as well be his day. I'm going to go with the 7 of James Scioli.
All right, well, he's also starting up front. He hasn't really led me wrong that many times to take the 1 and Seth Knoll again this season.
I'm going to be boring with the rest of you guys, and I'm going to go for the next best pick. Jake Nichols in 73, I'm going to have to go with him. These 3, if I'm not mistaken, those 3 were in their own little group off at Sonoma, right? Controlling the race.
You had that right.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of hard-pressed to not pick them again. Especially same story here, pretty much. They're all in their own little group in qualifying up near the front of the field. So we'll see. Could be wrong. James Kelly can go flying off in the hairpin, and you can lose all your points, Kyle. Or sorry, no, that'll be Hunter losing all his points. And Seth Knoll could probably join him as well, and then I'll emerge victorious through the smoke with Jake Nichols at hand.
Well, I think you're reading a couple pages too far ahead in the script, Finian.
Sorry, I got to reel it back a little bit.
Could be the wrong script. There have been some improvisations.
That's
to
the
it
one I
since
got.
the last
That's
time
for
we've
sure.
seen it.
I got the wrong one.
Yeah, that was the one I got earlier, but then I got a new one later today.
Hey, race
Yeah, I got
fans,
one too.
Our replay sponsor is Hendry County Motorsports Park. Racing is back at the Hendry County Motorsports Park. Join us on September 14th to see UMP open wheel modifieds, street stocks, factory stocks, and more. Tickets are $15 for adults with discounted prices for seniors, teens, and kids ages 5 and under are free. Come see racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, off US Highway 27. Visit henryracing.com for more info. So the 3 guys we presume will have the best run to the front are right up at the pointy end of this one here. All the team standings we should keep our eyes on as well. It's Solar Flare Racing way out ahead, but for 3rd place in particular, Lucky Ducks and the Slinger Racing Graphics team, just 2 points separate them, and then 609's 2 points behind them. So 3rd place is getting pretty interesting as Seth Knoll beat the pace car down to the hairpin.
Yeah, and getting on through, everyone getting going in. Whoa.
Something's going on here, huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he missed a shift or something trying to get back through, because the pace car does slow down a little bit more into the corners. There was an update with iRacing, so I think everyone's trying to get going. And looks like they're getting stacked up, ready to go again. Just really quickly, wanted to point out the EOLs for this race. Quite a few of them. Jonathan Knows, who qualified really well, dropped into the back. Joining Drew Jua, Emerson Arden, Landon Cardillo, Andrew Payne, Blaze McKinney, Travis Beckner, Jeremy Miller, and Ben Pierce, all to the back of the field.
Oh, that's not the place you want to be at on a road course, especially with no yellows. Going to be an interesting race here, Kyle. 35 laps to determine a winner.
Going to be an interesting one for sure. The field works their way through turn 13 and 14. They're going to head up to the start-finish line here. 35 laps, round 9 of the Area Cup Series, racing on a road course for the last time this season. And it's Solar Flare Racing out front. Green flag, and we're underway in Canada. I will say pretty tidy, all things considered. It can be a mess here at Montreal in the early stages. Tyler Gary has a look at Scioli, but it's all about tucking in line now as they work their way through turn 5.
Yeah, and turn 5 is really where it can get really messy. This is where everyone really stacks up into a heavy braking zone for the first time, and they pretty much have to get single file because they can't really go double file through there. We see a couple guys peeking out of line, trying to make a move, heading to the next pair of chicanes. Saw Peyton Howell trying to make a move on Matthew Bell. He will get the spot for 11th place, a little bit sideways, getting back on the throttle. That's another thing, too, guys got to keep in mind. Cold tires on the start.
Yeah, a lot of cold tires and the swapping for the lead as we're on board Ed Shearer Jr. heading into turn 8. Going to get a little bit hot in the grass. Going to go offline here and cut through turn 9. Not where you want to be, but didn't put it in the wall, so minimal loss for potential monetary gain in the future.
Yeah, just made a mistake on the braking, got it a little wrong, and had to chase it across the racetrack. They've revamped the slowdown system in iRacing a little bit, so it's not going to be catastrophic for him. It's really busy back here on the braking zone into the hairpin. Drivers that feel like they've got to make moves real fast because of their EOL that put them at the back of the order. Brett Puncari is alongside the 77 of Seth Berger. This is going to be a fun battle. I think I might try 3 wide here with Blaze McKinney. He thinks better of it.
Yeah, Blaze McKinney with the EOLs. He's trying to make up some spots to get near the front. Do a couple of block-ups, and I saw someone completely blow the chicane.
Wow, it was Travis Beckner.
I think Beckner went to pit lane.
Yes, I think he has a solid black. I think he had a surge, so that's why he's in the pit lane. Saw someone else completely miss the chicane up the road. Couldn't quite get who it was.
Well, now we've got a swapping
Oh,
for the
Max
lead
Service. Max Service completely missed chicane, almost hit the wall.
again. I'm not sure. It did Noel lead the first lap?
No, Skyly led the first lap.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting because Noel did have the lead up some point during the initial start, and I guess the 7 took it back and now is looking to set sail 4 car lengths in front of his teammate.
Yeah,
It was right on the front straightaway, actually. That's exactly when Skyley got it back, got a better run on the final chicane.
Yeah, pretty tight up here at the front, I have to say. Jake Nichols in behind Tyler Gary. Big cloud of the curb there on driver's right. Jake Matheson in the 54 is in this mix as well. So is Ricky Springer in the 51. Didn't he have an EOL last time out at Sonoma on the road course?
Yeah, I think he did. Yes, he did. He was way out of the picture. Really couldn't flex his muscle. Another driver we consider a road course ringer. Typically see him near the front of these races and doing pretty well at the moment. Just trying to stick with the leaders. The decent gap, about a second in behind between himself and Curran. The top 6 in their own zone. Looking there, Brent Pucari's under attack. Trying to see who that is. Is that
McKinney.
Blaze McKinney?
McKinney. Yeah, McKinney in the 87. He finished 14th at Sonoma, and I think he had another EOL, or he just didn't qualify because he started back. He started back in 32nd, but I remember the entire race he was trying to navigate towards the front and did get 14th and needs a good run to stay inside the top 5 in points. He enters 4th heading into this race.
Jake Nichols under fire here from Jake Matheson. Big push from the 54 as he tries to get this car under control and have a look at P4. Wasn't able to quite do it there, but in behind, some other cars pushing and shoving here for position in turn 1.
Yeah, Drew Duro with the move. He also had an EOL, so he's just trying to work his way from the back to the front. There's Seth Berger in the 77, just trying to get up to speed as he got passed by Jonathan Oates. And Oates probably one of the quickest drivers back here in traffic. Just that EOL really cost him not really what he needed. It's Peyton Howell, I think, just got passed by Connor Horn.
And Payne Howell, Connor Horn, 14th and 15th on the racetrack as the 42. He started ironically back in 21st at Sonoma and was having a solid effort until some shenanigans plagued that and finished 17th. So looking to change that up north of the border today.
Making good progress here early in this race. Can be pretty tricky to overtake when everyone's tires are in good shape early on, but he has made some moves up 6 positions in the early part of this race. Landon Cardullo is going to lose a spot to Andrew Payne in the number 70, and that is for 28th place. The driver that qualified last, Garrett Grant, with a couple of those EOLs, was able to get to 27th. Max Service is around.
Yeah, he's really struggled. I mentioned before he missed the chicane, the final chicane on the opening lap. I think, though, this time might have had some help.
Heading into the turn and just a little bit, little contact there from the 13.
Yeah, that was a little persuasion to get that car to turn around. We'll get right back into the mix, still battling Douglas Dubiging and Blaze McKinney, with McKinney right ahead of him. Back up at the front of the field here. It is still really tight. We saw a lot of separation in Sonoma over the course of the race, Finian, and it just became 3 drivers battling for the win, and it came down to the pit strategy for those. But we've got, what, 5, maybe 6 in this front
6
group at the moment?
Yeah, 6 all the way back to Ricky Springer. You can see them all right there in the camera shot, all nose to tail, serpentine heading through the chicane. But yeah, I think if they can all stick together, we should see them have a little bit of back and forth, especially because we saw it so orderly because it was all 3 solar flare cars, so they had a little bit of a gentleman's agreement to just kind of keep it amongst themselves and race near the end. That being said, they got some more variables at play here. Tyler Gary in 3rd, Jake Matheson in 5th, and Ricky Springer in 6th.
I like to joke around that Tyler Gary's the imposter solar flare car just because the color scheme is so similar to that of Scioli in the 7. Kind of get those two confused, and someone's locking up there heading into turn 9. And someone cut through, I'm not sure who that was, and it is McKinney.
Blaze McKinney went flying through there, yeah.
He just got it all wrong in the braking. This is kind of a tricky braking zone because you're still turning to the right when you first go to the brakes. And yeah, you have independent rear suspension, but he just miscalculated and shot through the center of that chicane and had to give up a few spots to boot.
Yeah, it's a very deceptive braking zone too. You have to slow down a lot earlier than you think you do heading to the corner, because you really pretty much can't see the corner until after you pass the bridge. Ooh, Skyoli went too deep into turn one. That caused a checkup. Seth Knoll out wide. That opened up the door. Here comes Tyler Gary with the charge on the inside line. Battle for second. Drag race to the next chicane, turn 5. Gary's going to try to keep it tucked on the inside. Then he'll switch back to Knoll. They're still not sorted this out.
This is a part of the track you do not want to be side by side, and I'm not even sure this works in real life, but they're trying to make it work heading into turn 6 here. Knoll going to have the advantage. Gary on the outside. Now he's going to have inside advantage through and into the next straight.
And Jake Nichols is watching all of this, just waiting to see which line is going to go. It'll be Gary on the preferred line here on driver's right, but a tougher braking zone here, I feel, for the car on the inside lane. And he's going to actually tuck in behind the one to make that right-left.
Yeah, it is much stricter, much tighter line, so you have to get that into that car on the inside has to get slowed down much more than the car on the outside, so he let that fly, but he's definitely going to be on the attack with Seth Knoll. Knoll throws it really hard into the hairpin, might overshoot it here by a little bit, a little bit of a lockup.
The Lepang, as they call it in French, through turn 10 and 11 and then down to the casino straight, or as they say, Joy de Casino. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Over 175 miles an hour on this back straightaway and hard into the braking zone for final chicane. Tyler Gary taking liberal use of those concrete curbings to try to get a better run on the front stretch. Don't let Skyerly drive away though, Finian. That's a bad strategy because he can go and make some good distance. Landon Cardullo has got damage and it might be terminal.
Yeah, he got hit by Garrett Grant after Cardullo made a mistake heading into the hairpin. That's why I had that little low. Because this is what I saw happen. He went in way too deep into the braking zone, slid across in the grass, and then bam, that hit from Garrett Grant right on the left front.
I think Grant was anticipating it because he did have an outer approach through that hairpin and unfortunately was still caught up in it. As look at Travis Beckner now side by side with McKinney for 24th, and he's going to complete it with ease.
Up near the front for thirds, Jake Nichols just got past Tyler Gary after he made a mistake.
Happening fast right now, hard to keep up with even. Here's a look at it. This is going down into turn 6. And Jake just opens the door here. But you see Gary locking up the left front. That's all it takes, that momentary slip, and the 73 got by.
I was going to say, it's more like Tyler Gary left the door wide open, and Jake Nichols said, don't mind if I do, and stepped forward into third place. So Solar Flare now 1, 2, and 3. Tyler Gary trying to see now if he can change that and get back to the 73, but it looks like his tires might be a little bit too hot at the moment for him to really get that traction and get back up to the 73, so it might take a while for them to cool down. Looking here, Matthew Bell in the number 8 fighting with Ray Schaefer's battle for 10th place. Schaefer trying to keep that defense going, just a nose ahead of the 8 as they head flying down the back straightaway.
Yeah, they got Bailey Turner behind as well, looking for a solid run to keep his momentum rolling and trying to make the playoffs as Bell completes the pass heading into 13.
This is one of those corners that you have to race to, not through, as Jake Matheson has a look up the inside of Tyler Gary into turn 1. A little hip check there, hip and shoulder through the opening corner. Gary now has the preferred line for the next turn, and he will maintain the position for now.
Yeah, I think Matheson smelled blood in the water. Felt Gary was a little bit off at the moment. It was now a good time to strike. Had a great run out the final chicane into turn 1. Tried to throw it into there. A little bit of contact forcing him wide, but then this inside line, it's really good to be in. I think also Matheson too was way off the racing line. No traction out there.
Well, you saw there through turn 6 just how bright the brake rotors are glowing on that 73 in Nichols as Douglas Newbigging's off the racetrack, and that's not what he needs. He's 7th in points. This is the last thing he needs.
Yeah, down into turn 1 here. Was there maybe some assistance? No, got in the grass on the braking and then just couldn't ever completely get it woed down from there. Just went for an innocent spin. Luckily, didn't have to hit anything along the way to get that car stopped.
Yeah, I mean, this track is really, you make it or break it into the braking zones, especially with these cars where it's so hard to slow down. You don't have the ABS and no aids to assist you in slowing down the car. It's just all about you and modulating that brake pedal and trying to keep the tires from locking up. It takes a lot of finesse, and you'll see the good drivers separated from the great drivers here when it comes down to it, and that's where we see with the leaders here really able to navigate that well. Jake Nichols trying to see if he can find something on his teammate Seth Knoll and move himself up to second place. That might be there. Knoll, bad run out of the chicane. Here comes Nichols on the attack.
Gonna look on the outside, but have the inside line heading into turn 1. Door-to-door teammates are for second on the track, and Noel's gonna back off and let the 73 go, but try to set him up for potential crossover off 2.
Yeah, this great racecraft here between these two as they just try to find the overs and the unders here. And I think Seth Knoll knew that he had to concede the corner there at turn 1, but tried to set himself up for a run to get back by. Maybe he can do it later in this sector here. Maybe surprise into turn 6. It's all about how you can manage the braking zones here. But now it looks like he will stay put for the time being. Ricky Springer right at the tail of this group. He has been lingering back here, hasn't he? Hasn't dropped off the front 5 at all.
No, it really hasn't. And not too terribly far behind is Michael Curran. I haven't really talked about the 24 car a whole lot this race. He's been quietly settling in behind in 7th place, and he's also brought along David Weisart, also relatively close. At the top 8, all within 7 seconds of each other. I'd say that David Weisart just went and had an awkward run through that chicane there for a brief moment, but all of them still pretty close together. Michael Curran, I think he might need some more shenanigans to happen near the front for them to bunch up, but he's been keeping pace.
And he's gonna need to keep that top 5 streak alive on the road courses. Every cup start he's had, he's finished inside the top 5, so definitely knows how to get it done. We'll have to see if he can stay out of trouble, keep that nose clean. Meanwhile, Cabot running in 9th, Bell running in 10th. Matthew Bell's going to need a solid performance today. He fell 6 spots after last week at Darlington, down to 16th in the standings, so anything helps, and running 10th right now definitely does justice, but I thought they were going to pit road there. That angle is very deceiving on that long straightaway.
Yeah, the fun thing about pit lane here is that you actually have to brake less to go to pit lane, so you shoot off straight like you're missing the corner entirely. But just think about the tracks that we've been to the last handful of rounds. We just came from Darlington, North Wilkesboro, Sonoma, and Dover. Those were the last 4 rounds. I mean, what a challenging sequence. The Monster Mile, you've got the challenging road course up in California, the tightest short track on the schedule, and then, of course, the track Too Tough to Tame, followed by yet another road course. This has been a tough section on the calendar.
Yeah, the last month has been pretty much gauntlet for these drivers. They got at least one week break last week. As Douglas Newbegin struggling. I don't even know where he is. This
front straightaway.
Road.
Yeah, I think might have thrown it in a little bit too deep into the chicane.
A bit too much curb there. They went around for a slide.
Well, it's a party second on through 6th.
Brake rotors are glowing orange, aren't they, for the second place fight?
Yeah, I mean, you're really relying a lot on the brakes, less of the tires around here, so it's all about managing them and not locking them up. These drivers are really determined, relying on them to get these giant heavy machines woed out. And especially to avoid those curves, you can see, especially through the final chicane there, those anti-cut curbs that are raised, the white curve there. Whoa, as Ricky Springer gets a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, almost goes flying the pit wall. He will save it but lose time. Meanwhile, up ahead, Tyler Gary back on a charge, trying to get 1 spot from Seth Knoll.
As he's trying to work his way around the 1 column, noticing lap times here. They didn't fall off too much at Sonoma, but looking here, 10 laps in, already 9/10 to a full second of fall off on these tires.
Yeah, I mean, 9/10, it is something, but you would expect a lot more, I would think, with the temperatures we're seeing, with how hard you have to drive. So again, it's not wearing them a lot, but it is noticeable, maybe even more so than it was at Sonoma, to your point. But the racing has been really solid around this place, hasn't it? Jonathan Oates on Bryce Senesac there, that's for 16th place.
We haven't really talked a whole lot about Bryce Senesac sitting back here. He's having a decent day. All things considered, started 21st, is up to 17, but he just, I think, got passed by Jonathan Oates, and now Edward Scheer Jr. is on the attack and behind him in the number 17 machine.
Yeah, Senesac had a rough go at Sonoma last time around, was in the wall in lap 1, so looking for a better day today, and currently doing just that as we have a swapping of positions. Matheson's trying to get around the 62 of Tyler Gary.
See if he can do it. He's going to use the side draft here on this long straightaway. And when I say long straightaway, this is one of the fastest you're going to see in road course racing outside of something like a Daytona Roval. Better braking there for the 54. He's been working this pass over for several laps, and now he'll get the job done.
You should rewind it to the beginning of the hairpin to see how he set that up. It didn't look completely planned looking at it. So you watch here into the braking zone. See the 54 just dive out at last second, just a little bit of a dive. You're able to get some purchase on the inside line and get ahead of the 62. So he's up into 4th place. Now can try to see if he can get a spot away from Seth Knoll.
Man, that is as calculated of a Louisiana dive bomb as you'll ever see without intentionally wrecking a guy, Austin Dillon. Senesac's down pit road, so pit stops early in the going, and would assume tires and fuel would be the way to go.
Yeah, I wonder if I mean, you have to take the fuel, so I'd imagine you take the tires here. About a third of the way. Oh, just fuel for Senesac, huh?
Yeah, just fuel. I was going to say, they don't need a whole lot of fuel, but I think enough. And again, we've seen with the tires, these guys typically don't want to take the tires, leave the tires that are on the car unless you really burnt them up.
With a second of fall off, though, I almost want to consider it, but again, with the fuel laying so much shorter than the tires, I don't know if it would come back to help you or not. Connor Horn and Greg Mitchell, this is a bit of door-to-door for 13th place. Connor made up 6 spots in the first 2 laps and then just 1 in the subsequent 9.
There was a big gap, I think, that he had to overcome to try to close the gap up to the drivers up ahead. So finally closed that in with Greg Mitchell.
Oh, look out.
Mitchell missed the braking zone, and he's going to go flying through the hairpin.
Connor Horn saw it coming, too. He stomped on the brakes mid-turn. Great awareness there by the 42. I don't know that they would have collided anyway, but he saw it coming and took maneuvers to right here. Watch the 42. Yep, just that momentary stomp on the brakes. But if you get it wrong there's not really a lot to catch you.
Yeah, I think Connor Horn didn't want to take a chance, so Greg Mitchell will lose a couple spots with that and also have some flat spots on his tires. He's going to have to keep that in mind because that can definitely get worse throughout the run, and then that's when you may want to consider taking tires. He's dealing with flat spots, especially for another 20 laps. Doesn't sound like a fun time. Up ahead, though, Adam Cabot trying to keep a defense off of Matthew Bell. Meanwhile, up ahead, though, Tyler Gary and Jake Matheson exchange places once more.
Swapping the 4th and 5th position, as we'll see here heading into turn 3. Not sure if Matheson just didn't get off the corner or he entered in way too deep, had to back off and just mowed a little bit of the Canadian grass.
Yeah, we've seen that because these cars have such a great braking ability in comparison to the cars we're going to see tomorrow and on Thursday. If you brake too late, I mean, your braking zones are so short comparatively, at least for stock cars, that you're already at the limit of braking. You're going to go way out deep. And Matheson now tucks in behind Ricky Springer.
Yeah, that looked like a planned exchange, I guess, because Springer's been kind of sitting in behind, and Matheson's saying, well, you go and deal with them. I'm going to hang out behind you and follow through.
5th place for Springer, and a little bit of a mess up there from David Weiser. I was just about to say, he's running really good inside the top 10. He's lost a couple of spots, though, after going through the hairpin.
Yeah, that
made a mistake heading through there. Went a little bit too deep, and that's the thing we've been seeing a lot of people get caught up by the braking zones like we were just talking about.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of it comes down to just the challenges of the extra performance here, as now David's going to shoot straight on through and get down to pit lane speed and take his service now. It's just you're already at the limit. This is just, there's action. You can't even get through a sentence without someone cutting a corner or spinning out. I give up. Who's next in line to pass? These two again.
Yeah, we'll see if Seth Knoll makes a mistake or if Tyler Gary makes a mistake, because they're right in behind each other, pushing really hard at the moment. I think Tyler Gary really wants to get back inside the top 3. He was running really well. They made that one mistake that shuffled him on back. Now trying to charge through again once more.
Looking to force the one of Knoll into the mistake here as they're approaching turn 8 and turn 9, which for most NASCAR fans, this part of the track is notorious for Robbie Gordon getting out of his car and walking on the racetrack on the final lap with no caution being thrown.
All right, it looks like we had one of our first retirements. Drew Jewell had a big hit into the final chicane. He's out.
Oh, man. See if we can go back and pick it up. Saw Weishart do something in practice where he had a pretty big incident right there. Just gets the curb. Oh, my goodness. What a hit.
Yeah.
It happens so fast. I mean, no saving it.
No, there's not much room to save it there. Hit one curb, bounced off the other curb, and pretty much had no grip to do anything.
Super slow-mo of it tells the tale, and he goes through that top part of that rumble strip over in turn 14. That's almost like almost acts like a ramp, as all the tires were off the ground and literally nothing you can do but just head into the wall, which unfortunate end to the day for Juju in the 13, and a swapping of the podium potentially for Seth Nolan. Tyler Gary with the charge to the inside.
It's an acceleration duel there, but Seth Noel won it for the moment. I think Gary's a little faster right now, and he is not willing to wait around any longer. Here comes the 62, power down into turn 5. Can't get the overlap here, so he'll have to do it at 6.
Yeah, Sprouts is just checking to see if he got a slowdown, because he took a very nice helping of curb. A little bit too much, but he didn't get a slowdown, so he's still over the back of him.
As this battle's continuing, the gap started to dwindle a little bit between Skyley and Jake Nichols. 139.86 that last time from Skyley compared to a 139.69 from Jake Nichols.
And Nichols a little quicker at the moment. Just trying to reel in that race leader. Lap after lap after lap. Pit stop will probably decide some of this as well. But so far, the drivers that started in the top 3 remain in the top 3, just in a slightly different order. There's Matthew Bell on Adam Cabot. This might be a big commitment, but Bell thought better of it.
Yeah, Bell's got a pretty quick car himself at the moment. Just has not been able to get around the 0-7. He's been a thorn in his side, but both of them been trailing 8th and 9th. Both will be good days for either of them if they finish as is.
And actually getting word that the impact from the 13 of Juju, it's enough to send him to the infield care center. Quite literally. I guess the force feedback in his wheel was a bit too much, and he actually hurt his hand in that process, as there's a car stuck. I shouldn't say stuck. It's on the access road, and it's the 99 of Nick Silver.
Yeah, he also had a little bit of a clout with the wall. Let's see exactly what happened to him. This is going down into turns 8 and 9 here, and just, wow. Oh, he got that way wrong.
Yeah, demolished the inside barrier there and sent his car flying, so that car is going to be pretty much done. Oh,
Reminds me a lot of Kyle Larson's Indianapolis road course crash.
yes. It does look eerily similar.
He's lucky they're not on real-life physics. Otherwise, that would have just ripped the whole right side of the door open. Can imagine, as Greg Mitchell's trying to work his way back towards the front after his off-course incident with the 17 of Ed Shearer Jr., the 28 of Beckner, as Beckner's looking to get around the 17.
And Beckner trying to move his way forward. He will complete that pass, uses all the road to do it. Pulls ahead of the purple Ford Mustang. And then going back to this little scrum here, some lap traffic, and also the battle for 4th between Ricky Springer and Tyler Gary, who is running lap times effectively co-requisite with the leader right now, as Skyley was a little off last time around.
Part of me wonders for Tyler Gary, it might benefit him to maybe make an early pit stop and get your fuel out of the way now. That way he's got some clean air to work with, because it seems like he's getting caught up in traffic and nowhere to really go. Oh, Ricky Springer missed the chicane. That's going to be a big slowdown for the 51.
And here comes
Jake Matheson. Matheson taking advantage of both of them making a mistake, and here he's trying to get 2 for 1.
Down the front stretch into turn 1, Gary's going to have the advantage as he's looking to send it in, shut the door. Boy, phenomenal driving from these two. Still inside the top 5, but Matheson's not done.
He just took all the momentum and he split them 3 wide as Gary was passing Springer, who made that mistake. And Matheson said, all right, you're going to slow up. I'm going to shoot this gap and go between you guys. And almost made that work.
Travis Beckner just got a hit from behind and went flying through the chicane, had contact with Edward Shearer Jr., and he is not a happy man.
Back and see. Oh, man. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah, and Beckner asking the admins if he doesn't have to serve his slowdown. Actually, it looks like it lapsed anyway, but he's arguing if he didn't have to serve it because he got forced off the track by another car.
Wonder what the rule on that is.
Well, I don't know, because it's not going to be determined, because the slowdown evaporated anyway.
Yeah, but I just in general, because when it gets down to the last lap of this race, let's say we got a battle for the lead, and you get a little hip and shoulder, can you just keep your foot in it?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. Well, what we do know is that the 17's getting 2 incident points for causing that.
That's a bummer. I mean, no cautions to worry about, but that doesn't mean that any contacts will go unpunished.
Oh, and it seems, sorry to cut you off there, it seems that the reason that contact happened, it seemed like Edward Scheer Jr. was coming into the pits.
Yeah, so that's the thing I mentioned earlier, is that the entrance, when you're committing to pit lane, you don't have to slow down for a lot longer. So you can't just throttle through somebody, though. So that, if you want that clear pit lane entry, you've got to communicate that and get clear road ahead. Maybe he thought that Travis was also coming to pit lane, but guessed wrong.
Yeah, the admin's throwing out there, please advise that you're heading into pit lane, especially if the car is ahead of you.
And maybe they'll give you the courtesy move over and move to the right and let you get that clear run on into the corner. I don't think there'd be no reason why you have to do that, as Connor Horn and Jonathan Oates are going at it.
Yeah, they're about to go for it, and it looks like Connor Horn missed the chicane and will let him on through, and there is Tyler Gary. I was watching that battle because Tyler Gary had to slow down and was trying to keep Jake Matheson at bay, but couldn't do it any longer. He had to let him on through and serve it. So off 54 goes back up to 4th place.
Meanwhile, the battle for the lead has dwindled to a half second now for James Skiley, as Nichols has really been settling in these last couple of laps. Been running about a tenth or two quicker per lap, ever so slightly catching the 7. Meanwhile, their teammate Seth Knoll going to navigate through turns 13 and 14 in 3rd.
Garrett Grant and Andrew Payne trading 27th place, and this is important because this is the last position on the lead lap for now. But without yellow flags, Finian, you're not going to really have much of a chance to get back on the lead lap, are you?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much said and
trouble
done.
for Tyler Gary. Sorry, Finian.
Oh.
The 62's around at turn 1.
And his issues have compounded here. I wonder if he had some help or if he just overshot the braking zone.
I think you can see the tire tracks as he's coming through.
We're on the outside of the 65, and there was contact there.
Yeah, I think there was the problem. There was a miscommunication. I think he assumed that Pierce is going to get out of the way, but then he was trying to get out of the way at the apex, which
Can't
is
hit
not
the
ideal.
disappear button, right? I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, that's a tough part of the track for lap traffic to get involved. I mean, he's not doing it intentionally. He's just trying to stay out of the way. It's just wrong place, wrong time. If you're going to do that, go on the other side, more on the outer bit. Just, well, not to the extent of Greg Mitchell. Don't hit the wall while doing it, as he's going to potentially lose a spot to Beckner, door-to-door in the 6.
And Beckner's going to have that spot. He's up now to 13th place. And he'll set his sights on Connor Horn, who is in 12th at the moment. The two race leaders are pretty tight as they've been, 0.4 of a second, and lots of traffic on the horizon. If you're Jake Nichols, finishing to hit pit lane to avoid all this.
Oh, I absolutely would hit pit lane to avoid all this, but I think maybe these guys are trying to see if they can run the tanks out, keep the cars low on fuel, you get that much extra speed, that much extra handling with less weight in the car. But I would say it might be worth trying to avoid having to work through the slower traffic, especially between Skiley and Nichols, but we'll see. It looks like they're going to at least pass a couple of these guys or have to try to work past them.
Well, whenever they do come down pit road, battle's continuing. Knoll and Matheson, 3rd and 4th on the racetrack. When they do come in and pit, they're going to be in for at least 30 seconds, even if you're just topping off for about 7 or so. At least from what I'm seeing. And then if you opt to take tires, that's about another 7 or 8 seconds added on, which I don't think they're going to do, but gotta keep in mind that 30 seconds is how much time you're going to lose on pit road.
Yeah, it battles for first and for third. The 54 is sideways, Finian.
Yeah, sideways in the braking zone. Seth Knoll gassed it up last second, trying to get to the inside line, gained that much speed entering the chicane. Couldn't quite get there, but this is a fantastic battle. We'll start with Matheson getting a much better run out of the final chicane on the front straightaway, made the move into 1, and it looks like he's going to be able to secure that spot for now. Seth Knoll can't quite get back on the power enough, so he's going to have to surrender that spot. He's still trying to get close to him. You see him, that car sideways, trying to get the power down.
As Nichols has a look to the inside, not enough there for 73 coming through the hairpin. I was going to say battle for first is eating up, battle for third, and even in the background there, battle for 5th between Springer and Michael Curran as the leaders come through the casino straight.
Well, any of them make that straight run into pit lane with just 16 laps to go. They will not appear at the front. Matheson and Nola. Then the other battle that was mentioned was the 51 and the 24. This is for P5.
Yeah, Ricky Springer, a couple mistakes taking him a little bit out of this battle, but now has to worry about Michael Curran, who now has a chance to pounce, was riding in 7th for a majority of this race, got past Tyler Gary with his mistake earlier, and now here comes Ricky Springer about to be under attack.
Yeah, the 24 of Curran has been closing in, and even after the little spin that the 62 had, he still ran about 3/10 quicker than Michael Curran. So he might insert himself into this battle for 5th, but Jake Nichols still inserting himself in the battle for the lead.
Still a little scrap here between Scioli and Jake Nichols. The traffic has worked out in their favor or pulled out of the way for them, but is that going to be a common occurrence for the rest of this race? And at some point, will James catch traffic a little wrong, or can Jake outrace James Scioli? James's best lap is 4/10 better than Jake's.
And update on the battle in behind, Stefnum ended up missing turn 6, so he's falling out of the battle with Jake Matheson for now. So see, Matheson can use the chance to capitalize. I don't know if he can really get back in the race up for the lead at the moment. That's 6.5 seconds. That's a lot to make up with only 15 laps to go.
The only thing I can think of is possibly coming down and taking tires at that point. Why not? You will make up some time in the short run, but over time, the tires, if you do take them, they will even out.
Laps clicking away here into the meat of this race. 25 minutes of racing remaining. This is the closest battle on the racetrack at the moment. It's for the race lead. There's one other one that's maybe just as close, and it's for 15th. Reese Schaefer and Peyton Howell. And this is that battle into the hairpin.
Yeah, so they will go nose to tail. Gonna get back on the power. Right now, actually both these cars are good to go to the end. They made their pit stop. One of actually the drivers leading of the drivers that have come down to pit road, Reese Schaefer, he's letting the 52 on by.
Did Schaefer ever take tires? I believe Weishart did, just judging by how long he was.
Schaefer, I want to say he did because he was in his pit stall for 11 seconds, although actually looking back at the replay, no, it looks like that was all fuel. Didn't see the jacks go up.
Beckner
couldn't tell
and Mitchell, sorry Hunter, they're on pit lane, so getting their service. Left-hand side of the screen, 0 has not pit, 1 has made their pit stop.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if the 33, well, if it was the 97 or the 33, the first one's on fresh tires. I believe Weishart did after overcooking it, run 17th on the track.
The highest running car on new tires, or I should say, that has already made their pit stop, is 13th place Peyton Howell.
Yeah, and then to add to what you were saying there, the highest driver with fresh tires seems to be David Weishart. Greg Mitchell, he was just in pit road. He took fresh tires. He pit for tires as well. So that's the trade-off you're looking at. You either come in for fuel, it's about 7 seconds to get the gas you need. If you want tires, it's about 13, 14 seconds worth. So you're willing to give up those extra 7 seconds for fresher rubber. And one of the first front runners to come in, Ricky Springer, we'll see how he answers that question.
Yeah, will be interesting to see. This will probably be a sign of things to come for the rest of the front runners that have yet to make their stops.
And Jack going up on the right there, at least for Ricky Springer. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the lefts are probably going to come up as well.
Yes, they will. And all the while, spin, trouble for the leaders.
Oh!
James Scioli's gone around, and it might have been off the bumper of the 73.
It kind of seems to be that way. Have to check the replay.
Oh, James got in there really hot and tags the 7 and turns him around.
Yeah, oh, and actually almost got rear-ended by the 30 of Jeremy Miller.
This is an optimistic lunge, I think, guys, and he gets there, but then just drifts a little wide after he had gotten to the apex. But
yeah, I think he tried to gas it up early, and that pushed him out wide and made contact. That'll be interesting to see if the admins are going to rule that on, because if that could be penalty points coming the 73's way.
Yeah, and that's the last thing Jake Nichols wants to see. At the end of the day, he preaches it every time he's in the booth with us after the race. He preaches about team standings and getting the team points and being atop that. So I think that's the last thing he wanted to do was take out a teammate, not to mention the 7 of Skyly, who's yet to win a race this season.
Yeah, and again, it was just the lightest bit of contact. And you could, from a different angle, you could say that the 7 maybe should have left him space. But, when you're on the road courses, if you're coming from that far back, you should really know how much room on the racetrack your car needs to make the corner. And I think he needed a little bit more than he had. As Michael Curran, he's having a solid day here, up in 6th place, chasing Tyler Gary, who we saw spin out a little earlier.
Yeah, it looks like actually Tyler got back around the 24. He was ahead at one point, but they've exchanged positions back, so Curran is happy sitting in 6th at the moment. Quiet day for him, nothing to note. It's a decent run. But what that has done up in front, though, what happened between Nichols and Scioli, that's allowed Jake Matheson to close the gap to the leader. He was about 6-second deficit, now 3-second deficit to Jake Nichols. But James Scioli right in behind in 3rd, and I'm sure he's going to want to make up that spot.
Yeah, that puts the 7 in an interesting position, too, because obviously the tires are a little bit cooked after that spin. Not sure if you would still stick to just gas and go or if you ponder taking tires.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what lap times he can make. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of time left, though. I would think if you were taking tires, you would have wanted to get him a little bit closer to the halfway point of this race. We're down to effectively the final third, Finian.
Yeah, that's to the point where I consider, it's not worth that trade-off. If you want that trade-off, earlier to really benefit from the first tires, you want to do it kind of half and half. But speaking of, on another note, update from race control penalty to the 73 plus 2 penalty points for him. So that's not going to affect him this race, but next week it's going to be an EOL when we head to Chicagoland.
That's going to be really tough for him as well. And I'm going to look at it right now. I don't know if he has any penalty points to the season, which I don't think it's going to matter that much. But you mentioned the 2 points, EOL, but I don't think he has any on his name heading into next weekend.
None at all. Until now.
Looks like some front runners into the pit lane. The 1 and the 24 are making their stops. And Jonathan Oates stays out on the racetrack. He's one of the top 7 drivers who have yet to make a pit stop in this race. And we're coming to 11 laps to go next time by. So I'd imagine that the last guys, if they're planning on coming to pit lane, which we expect, they'll be in the next 2 or 3 laps.
That's no out of the pits, no tires for him. And the opposite story for Michael Curran, he actually came in and took tires. So interesting to see a little bit more of a dichotomy we're seeing compared to Sonoma with drivers debating to take tires or not.
Yeah, Noel was in his box for about 32 seconds, so it'll be tight whenever these leaders do come down pit road if they elect to. I would assume that at some point they would, because Noel is within that 30-second time limit where we see guys go on pit road and then just do a little gas and go. Also depends on how much fuel these guys are going to put in their car. They're not going to need maybe 7 seconds worth. If they're stretching it this much, Kyle, they might need about 4 or 5, and that could be the difference between winning and coming in second.
I think that's what they're trying to do here, is just take the minimum amount of fuel possible as Ricky Springer goes by Connor Horn down here in the hairpin. So the shorter you can make your pit stop, the better. And they're just trying to run it out as long as physically possible. There's a risk to that too, though, because if you're, I never like fueling the car to the absolute bare minimum, because you never really know what your fuel usage is going to look like when in different battles, especially on tracks with you're on power this much. So we will see how things pan out for the drivers trying that strategy.
Yeah, it is a little bit easier to determine in a fixed lap race compared to an endurance race. That's a lot more variables involved with that one, but you should typically know around how much you need. But like you said, if you're holding back a little bit in the earlier run and then pushing later on, you might be burning up a little bit more fuel. So it always helps at least give yourself, an extra lap, about an extra half a lap, extra lap at least. Give yourself that cushion, because last thing you need is to be sputtering across the line, which we actually did see. There was an incident at Sonoma with drivers running out coming across the line.
Boy, these two have just been with each other for a good portion of the race. Matthew Bell in the 8, Adam Cabot in the 07. Still door-to-door for position on the racetrack. That's for 11th, just a spot shy of the top 10.
And they've been racing each other clean, as well. Too. Yeah, you're right, Finney. This is fresh out of the pit lane, isn't it? And these two have raced each other very clean all night long. And Bell will nose ahead for the time being.
Yeah, the T-Cab probably will have a chance of coming back at it, but no tires, no fresh tires for either of them. Only a 1/10 difference in the pit lane between both of them, so very, very close neck to neck, probably closer than they would like, as they're probably sick and tired of each other, dealing with each other all race long. Meanwhile, up near the front, Skyly and Matheson
Traded spots.
And, I think something happened here.
Yeah, Matheson, I think, got the chicane a little wrong. Maybe course cut here slightly.
I think a little bit more than a little bit wrong here.
Oh.
Charging hard over the curb and smacking the wall of champions.
Yeah.
He did hit the tire barrier fairly square, so I think he should be okay.
Juju is wishing that he hit it that squarely earlier. I mean, he about did the same thing. He went over that white rumble strip in turn 14 and somehow was able to just only squarely hit the tire barrier. Someone's locking up in front of the two as Tyler Gary's coming off pit road.
To rejoin a few seconds behind Seth Knoll, and Seth Knoll is the leading car now of those who have pit. So the others that were pitting earlier trying to gain track position, they're not now in contention to win this race just because Seth and Tyler Gary would be those two drivers. And this could be the battle for the race. Whoa, that was weird.
That was weird. I was surprised to see that. I wasn't expecting Seth Knoll to let him on by. I wonder if he had a slowdown or something. I don't think he should have. Oh, he did have a massive. Seth Knoll missed the turn 2, I believe, on the front straightaway here.
Travis Beckner just had his hands full down in turn 1. Whoa, big slide there, carrying pretty good speed, but you have to get it woed up and battling Connor Horn now for 15th spot.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be happy dealing with the hot tires and trying to battle as well. It's not a decent recipe to have, but he's trying to make it work. You see him sawing at the wheel a little bit, trying to get the car under control and get it under power as well. And also part of the reason these guys are struggling too, it is still pretty warm out there.
Skyly in pit road.
118.
Nichols in pit road. The 73 and the 7 are down pit road. Matheson's still on the racetrack.
Trying a different strategy than the rest of the field. Do whatever they are not doing.
Jonathan Oates also down as well into the pits.
It's going to get fun here between these two. Going back to those leaving pit lane, it is Scioli that will leave first.
Actually, no, Nichols.
Oh, Nichols did. You're right. With a longer pit stop time, too.
Yeah, about an extra second of fuel for the 73. Wonder if he went maybe a little bit too conservative on the fuel, or did someone go too aggressive on the fuel, someone did go too conservative. We'll find out, I guess, at the end.
Fun battle to watch with how physical things get for Travis Beckner in the final 9 laps of this race in pursuit of Connor Horn. Took a big handful of counter steer last time through turn 1. You see the turn right to go left thing there again a little bit as well.
Both these drivers fighting it out at the moment for 15th place once this whole cycle's out. And we're really waiting on Jake Matheson. He's the last driver out there. Everyone else is coming for their stop.
Yeah, Matheson's going to lose a ton of time on pit road because I'm not sure. There must have been a mistake whenever the 73 and the 7 made their pit stops, unless the ticker's just a little bit, I think it's starting to, well, it's still 14.
I think it's messed up because the other two were down on pit lane, maybe. Actually, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
So Seth Knoll, which car are we talking about again? Seth Knoll?
Talking about Jake Matheson.
Jake Matheson. Well, let's see. He's in the box. So Seth Knoll had a really slow run down the pit road itself, even though the pit time was okay. We'll see what James Skyler's got. 6.6 seconds, 6.9 seconds worth. And where is the next closest car? I see Tyler Gary. Matheson comes out, and he's trailing James Scioli. He's actually off the road, and he's got a long ways to make up to Scioli and Nichols.
Yeah, I don't think it's too surprising because we did see him smack the wall.
That's true.
So I think that's where he lost a little bit of time. I think had that not happened, he would have been a little bit closer up in behind the number 7. But still, in graphs, in case something happens, we've got to keep an eye on Scioli. He took notably less fuel than everyone else. Everyone else in around the 7.5 to 8 second mark. Scioli was the only one really significantly down. Actually, Matheson even himself took slightly less fuel than Nichols. 6.8 seconds in the box for the 54.
Yeah, try to minimize the time lost on pit road as Beckner still trying to get around the 42 of Connor Horn. bounces for 15th on the track.
Been a great fight between these two. Really maximizing the grip that they have available. Here comes a lunge from the 28 down to the inside of Connor Horn. And it's not going to play that time through.
Beckner trying to see if he can do the over-under, but gets way too aggressive on the throttle and kills anyone he had out of the corner. So he's going to have to wait and punt for another opportunity. Up ahead of them, though, there's 3 cars battling for position. Peyton Howell, David Weishart, Reese Schaefer, 12, 13, and 14. So these guys, if they can get themselves sorted out, they have a chance at a couple more spots and a better finish.
We look at the wilderness and then see the cars poke through into the hairpin.
Yeah, pretty racetrack out here. It's a park, it's a street course, it's a road course, it's near a city, it's got a little bit of everything. It's on the water. It's technically on an island. It's a pretty cool facility. And it's one of those NASCAR tracks that, well, it's not really technically a NASCAR track, but it's one of the courses that NASCAR fans have wanted to see ever since it was taken off the schedule. I'm really surprised it hasn't been added back when Cup Series wanted to add so many more road courses, and I think for a little while it seemed like they might go back there, but they have elected not to.
I mean, it was rumored that they were potentially going to return to Montreal, then it turned out we were going south of the border instead of north of the border into Mexico City.
There's Beckner getting overlap there. That's nice. He's going to get the power down now.
It's kind of struggling a little bit. Connor Horn's also struggling as well. I think Beckner's going to try to break him here tight into the next chicane. And some contact, more contact, both of them leaning on each other.
Horn not giving up either.
Oh.
And they're almost making contact again. Beckner hugging the wall, heading into turn 6. Going to be real tight here on the outside.
No love lost between these two.
Hey, we saw it right there. A lot of little gentle hits here and there, not enough to wreck each other, but they're definitely not giving each other room. Connor Horn able to muscle his 42 car just ahead of the 28 for now. Keyword is for now, because it's still got 7 laps to go. Oh, and Connor missed the corner, and that's going to be slow down for him. And Beckner will go on through. Gave a little bye-bye on the radio, and off he goes.
A little grin at the 28 of Beckner there as he works his way past the 42. That's 15th on the track. And in the meantime, Skyly has, well, slowly been closing the gap. He ran a couple tenths quicker that last time by, but going to need to close down a little bit more if he wants to have a shot at the win.
Yeah, he needs to take out more like a half a second a lap or more to get there. And that's just a pretty sizable effort to have to do. But lap traffic can play into it as well, but any traffic that Nichols passes, Skyly will also have to contend with. And of the traffic that they're in right now, Jake is almost clear of it.
Solid run for Jake Nichols up ahead, just working through the traffic. And as soon as he does that, has a little bit more cleaner to work with. Got Jeremy Miller just up ahead and Blaze McKinney, and both of them fighting for 21st place. But Jeremy Miller will let the 73 of Nichols on through.
Yeah, now he's going to have to get around Blaze McKinney, and Jake Matheson 5.5 seconds back, but sitting comfortably in third. Got about another 5 seconds or so between him and Tyler Gary.
Love the high-speed shot here on the back straightaway, rocketing down 2 turns, 13 to 14 to finish up the lap here. 5 laps to go for Jake Nichols, working his way by some lap traffic there, but it's a little bit of a slower lap again. That was a bigger gain for Skyly at a 39.9 to Jake Nichols' 140.3, but it's still not enough. The math is going to have to get a lot more favorable for the 7 car if he hopes to run him down on pace alone.
He's just really going to have to hope these lap cars play nice with him and don't hold him up any more than he needs to, but he's starting to really run out of time. And obviously there's the trade-off. Does he push harder to try to get ahead, or does he, puts himself at risk of wrecking and destroying a really solid finish even if he doesn't win it?
Oh, Travis Beckner. Over the curbs in the final corner, got that all wrong.
Connor Horn's going to love that.
He will. He'll get another chance at it here. Here's a look. It's caught in the grass and was in a little too hot, and it cost him enough time, and he just had to bail to the left. And We'll restart this fire again for P15.
And actually, Beckner did a great job of utilizing the slowdown to his advantage. He sparked the bus on the apex and kept the 42 of Connor Horn at bay and didn't let him get past.
Scioli had a moment there. He just lost second to Matheson. Not sure what happened, but he just started to fall rapidly on the leaderboard. So now he lost the second spot to Matheson.
There's a little drama ahead of him, but I think right here on exit, it's going to get balked a little by the 30.
Oh no, and I think he got a slowdown because he hit
right.
the he I think took too much curbing on the entry trying to avoid it.
So he loses second, and thus they also lose their opportunity to easily mathematically run down Jake Nichols. It'll have to be a mistake from the 73 at this point.
Yeah, we don't see many mistakes from the 73, other than the one we see him do earlier. But that's going to affect him next week, not this week. And you got to keep focused on finishing out this race.
Only got one win so far this year, and that came back at Charlotte back in July. But he's had top fives ever since then, top fours actually. First, second, third, fourth, second since that win. And prior to that win, he'd only had one top five on the season. The others were outside the top, well, they were 10th and a 16th at Daytona and Pocono. So things have gotten a lot better for Nichols since July 28th, and I think he's in a position right now to potentially be the, the second multi-time winner on the season?
I think so by the looks of it, because
Yes.
Seth Knowles taking the rest of the wins. Though he's the only multi-time winner with 4 wins to his name.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've known Nichols as the top dog for Solar Flare Racing, but he's kind of been second fiddle to Seth Knowles this year. You mentioned it. He's only got 1 win compared to Knowles' 4. And Knowles running 5th right now, so not too shabby of a run for him, but as far as the driver standings, this could be huge into who gets the regular season title at the end of this one, with the bonus points going to the top driver heading into the playoffs. So a lot on the line here, and this potential win for Nichols could be huge for that.
Coming to 3 laps to go. Laps are clicking away, and at this point in this race, all he's doing is hitting his marks. No pressure from behind. He's actually expanding his lead for the most part, with Matheson having to deal with some other cars behind. That was a 6/7 of a second advantage, so his focus is out the windshield only. Jake Matheson is really pushing hard to hang on to second.
He pushed it almost a little bit too hard, almost sent the car around with how hard he charged into turn 1. That's allowed Scally to catch back up and now start mounting some pressure here. So the battle for third place, that final step on the podium, not over yet.
And we could be hopefully talking to both these guys after this one's over, unless they entangle with each other at some point, and might have a little entanglement here for 9th on the racetrack. Adam Cabot's still trying to hold off the 25 of Bailey Turner, who's been making a great charge in the later half of the season.
Yeah, things have started to sort of coalesce as far as the running speed, but the finishes are still real hit or miss. And this would be his second best finish of the season, only bested by a 9th at North Wilkesboro. And see Seth Berger pulling off to the side there, letting some traffic on through. And here's Seth Nolan, Tyler Gary going at it here for 4th.
This battle really started heating up in the last lap of itself. And here they go at it. Seth Knoll trying to improve his spot by one more as Tyler Gary has a lockup, parks the bus, and keeps the one at bay out of the hairpin.
Yeah, the one got a little too hot entering the hairpin, had to back off, and unfortunately for him, the Gary machine was a little bit off through the center of the turn, so he'll live to see another day as both these guys head into turn 13.
Really heavy on the brakes late for the one of Seth Knoll, but that attack gained him a bunch of time. And Tyler Gary
capitalize it on the exit, though.
Yeah, it's Gary scampering across the curbs there and gained some more ground back.
Some other battles heating up in behind them as well. Adam Cabot, Bailey Turner, teammates about to duke it out for 9th place on the track.
Good point. You bring up their teammates. They might not act like him in the last couple laps of this race. Max Service and Ed Scherer Jr. This is for 18th place, and this is as fierce a fight as any.
I was going to say, it is all coming to a head here in the last 2 laps. Whoa, 1 tap, 2 taps, maybe a third.
Red taps, blue taps.
Max Service is going to move out of the way. Everett Scherer Jr. going to get the inside line. Ooh, for Beckner and Reese Schaefer, they're battling side by side in turn 1.
trading paint for 14th there as the 97 and the 28 duke it out. And we have a drag race down the Casino Straight between the 81 and the 17.
Who gives? Someone's got to. Looks like Max Service will tuck in behind the 17, but Edward Scher looked like he wasn't going to make that, was he? But he did. Got it sorted, and then back up to 4th place, Gary and Seth Knoll.
Here they go into the braking zone. Seth Knoll going to take the long way around, going to be very offline. There is no grip out there, and he's going to almost spin it around trying to get back on the throttle.
Well, that's going to end the battle for 4th there unless the 62 has a mishap. And we'll head to the other side of the hairpin where the 07 and the 25 continue to battle it out for 9th on the racetrack. And Jonathan Oates not too far behind as well.
Someone pulled the pin on this grenade of battles a couple of laps ago because it was pretty calm for a while, and now it's very exciting all through the order here. Up front, though, it is a sizable advantage for Jake Nichols, and he's just got a couple of miles and 14 corners left to navigate, Finian.
Yeah, if something catastrophic happens in 73 in the last half a lap, that's the only thing that will really take it away from him. 5 seconds, the gap between himself and Jake Matheson. As we continue to look at the other battles that are going on through it, they're all about taking the white flag lap.
Jake Nichols going through turns 6 and 7 for the final time with a comfortable margin over the 54. And Matheson mentioned he's got the most top 5s and top 10s on these road courses. Well, he's looking to add another one, and he's about half a lap away from doing so.
While he works his way through the last few chicanes here, Nick Silver and Brett Punkari, they're having a little bit of a battle for 23rd place on the racetrack, and they're going to run out of time here because next time by will be picking up a checkered. Jake Nichols into the hairpin for one last time.
Well, that's a little bit of a lock up there, but it's okay. He's got more than enough of a cushion to make a mistake as he heads down the back straightaway for the final time.
Jake Nichols in the 73 for Solar Flare Racing. A little bit of drama, picked up some penalty points, started 3rd, stayed there all day long, and it was the strategy that will help him at Montreal today. It'll be his 2nd win on the season, only the 2nd multi-time race winner in 2024 Area Cup Series Season 6, and it's Jake Nichols that wins at Montreal in the 73 Toyota. Battles behind here as this is going to get pretty fierce.
I was going to say, Peyton Al made some contact with a 33 that sent him wide. Travis Beckner almost split it 3 wide. He's going to make a lunge, make a move on Weissart, trying to move him out of the way.
And Beckner's going to cross over. Both of them coming off the turn. The 33 and 52 are side by side, being and banging in front of Beckner.
This is going to come down to the last chicane. Who's braver than the others? Travis Beckner going to look to the right on Peyton Howell. Somebody's going to have to give here, and if they don't, Beckner could pull on through and pass both of them. Breaking duel into the final corner. Here comes Beckner and gives the 52 a shot. They're all going to miss it in one way or another. The 33 clambers over the curbs awkwardly. Howell swings to the left, and Beckner throttles up to try to shoot the gap here in the middle. The 33's got to slow down. Peyton Howell comes through into 12th, and Beckner 13th.
Reese Schaefer also sneaks in there as well to get another spot.
Wow.
Weissart, that was costly for him. Lost 3 spots in one corner with that slowdown.
That was unfortunate there, but a thrilling battle to the very end, no matter what position it was on the racetrack, guys, trying to get the best result possible. But Jake Nichols got the best result of them all.
He did, and in this race, we had 35 laps. He led 14 of them. And with that, he'll pick up his 2nd win on the season. Let's have a look at our race results here. And after what I think is a good harbinger of things to come for the rest of the week here. This is a fun racetrack for racing, and we got to see a pretty fun show. And I think things are going to look different tomorrow and Thursday, though, Finian. The way the cars race is also pretty different.
Oh, they are very, very, very different compared to the way the Cup car handles. So, and doesn't mean that'll be any less fun, I would think. But yeah, taking a look at the race results there, Jake Nichols, the win by 5 seconds over Matheson, then Scioli, Tyler Gary, Seth Knoll, Ricky Springer, all Toyotas, followed by Michael Curran, Bell, Cabot, and Turner rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, much needed top 10 for Turner there, and Jonathan Oates just a spot shy of that top 10 mark, finishing 11th. Saw the battle between Peyton Howell, Travis Beckner, Reese Schaefer, and David Weissart. Weissart having to back out at the last corner from kind of too soon. Connor Horn 16th, Greg Mitchell rebounds to 17th, Ed Shearer Jr., Max Service, Blaze McKinney rounding out the top 20.
And looking down 21st to 30th here, Jeremy Miller, Senesac, Silver, Punkari, and more a lap down. We saw Garrett Grant start at the tail of the field didn't really get a chance to make his way forward. Neither did Arden or Payne, despite some battles along the way. Drew Jua out with a big crash, and Pierce Cardullo and Mason Kane also not finishing this race. Third place finisher here in this one was James Scioli in the number 7. And James, tonight you led 21 laps, the most of anybody, but it didn't quite pan out for you. Take us through your evening and what put you back in third versus first.
Yeah, I think I still think the best car won tonight with the Jake. I don't know what it is. I got to go back to the drawing board here on this next gen car. I kind of get real tight in these road course races, and I don't know why nobody else seems to struggle with the turn in as much as I do. So I got to figure that out. I mean, Jake, you saw he chased me down, and then I was just kind of crowding him there. I don't know. I mean, we just come together. It was close. We're both racing for the win. I don't really fault him for that. I think we were just kind of both going for the same gap, and it unfortunately was just at the perfect spot that ended up turning me around. And at that point, tires were pretty hot, so just trying to cool him down. And then me and Matheson traded a couple mistakes, and neither of us really wanted second place, I guess. So I got to slow down. Jeremy locked up in front of me, and so I was just trying to hit the chicane like I normally did, and took too much curb and ended up getting a slowdown. So that's what ended up putting me in third rather than second. So all in all, a pretty good race. Just unfortunate. It was just kind of about limiting mistakes. I think we all did a pretty good job at that, and definitely happy with third. Definitely needed some points. I came in 11th in the playoff cut line, so I need to get away from that cut line, especially if there's a surprise winner at Talladega or something.
Yeah, we head to Chicagoland next week. James Scioli, thanks for talking to us. P3 tonight in the Solar Flare number 7.
Thanks, guys. First, want to give a huge shout out to you guys for the broadcast, the admin team. Big shout out to Solar Flare and Drafty Car for being on the car, and good win to Jake. Always fun racing with these guys, and happy to come away with the top 3.
Appreciate it, James. Nice job.
Thanks, guys.
And it was Jake Matheson that came home in second place, the number 54. Special paint scheme on the car here tonight, Jake, but hard-fought battles for most of this race. Didn't lead any laps, though the drivers ahead of you and behind you did. What'd you need to beat that 73 or the 7?
Well, that race really felt like a battle of who could screw up the least, and it seems Jake just ran the most consistent good race there. So congrats to him. Great race, great run. Yeah, I got to thank Ricky for putting this 911 scheme together. It's definitely special that I can run this, timing of this race. So thanks to him for making this up. Yeah, I don't know. I just had a really bad run, in my opinion. I just made too many mistakes. I got like 4 slowdowns. So, not the best run in my book, but P2, I'll take it. It was a brawl up front for a while there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, really close racing all through the field. Up and down the order, Jake Matheson second tonight in the 54 Toyota. Jake, thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And Jake Nichols gets his second win of the season. You become only the second driver to have multiple wins in Season 6 here in the Area Cup Series, Jake. And once you got the lead, just kind of drove away after the pit stop sequence and made it look easy there at the end. Take us through your night.
It was interesting. I got a sore throat, so if I cough randomly, it's probably because of that.
Me too.
Talking, but hell yeah, high five.
Heck yeah, dude.
Spit club. I don't know. I knew I had great pace on the run. It was just so hard to pass. I felt like I might not have even had a shot to get up there. I got lucky that there's a few mistakes here and there from the guys in front, and I hate it for James. Obviously, he's so confident in these road courses, and I tried to peak a few times in that section. I felt like that was the only spot I could get a run on him. It's crazy how like there's so many braking zones in this track, but it feels like none of them are a passing zone. And I tried to peak him a few times there to maybe give him the nod of like I might send it one of these times, and I tried so hard to hold the curb. I probably turned a little too early, too soon, trying to give him that room. I think I was still on the curb when we made contact, but I tried so hard to lift or brake and just stop and let him gather it up, but unfortunately he wasn't able to. But at least he still got great points. He's trying to make the playoffs, obviously, on points so far since he hasn't got a win, but a win's coming his way. I mean, he easily could have done it here and Sonoma, so he's overdue, that's for damn sure.
Overdue perhaps, but Jake, you are the driver that has won tonight. Second win on the season. Congratulations on conquering Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal, Canada, and we wish you the best. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you.
All right, guys, and wow, this was a fun night. I mean, I think we anticipated the road course to give us something unique, and maybe some more action even than Sonoma from a couple of months ago. But Finian, I think we learned that it seems like Solar Flare has a really good grip on this. Final thoughts here on Montreal.
Yeah, it's a fantastic track. I think it's a great choice in coming here. I'm kind of hoping we can probably come back here. A couple drivers wish this place would burn to the ground. I saw that in the chat put before the server closed down. But yeah, I thought this was a fantastic race. Whole bunch of action all up and down the order, especially for the lead, constantly rotating with other drivers up there. So great stuff. And it's unfortunately the last road course of the season, but we'll see what we have in store for us next week at Chicagoland.
Yeah, I had a little bit of trouble with my virtual passport getting in here, and I'll have to try a poutine, or as they call it, a pontoon, before Thursday's Pro Series race. But yeah, overall a fairly fun race, especially for the next-gen car, which could be a sign of things to come, hopefully in the future for real-life racing. But tomorrow's going to be interesting, Kyle. Truck Series at Canada, so don't know how that's going to go.
We're going to head north to the border all week long with the trucks and the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series coming up on Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks so much for watching Sim TV and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve with the Area Cup Series. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Truck Series.